All right, gang. Hey, I want to give you a little idea of the difference in just my 40 years of amateur riding and some racing in these two bikes. That is a 2019, actually that's a 2020 KTM 250 TPI, and this is a 2020 250 TPI Husky that we just bought yesterday. So haven't had a chance to dial it in completely, but that's okay. I kind of know what I'm up against with it. But I rode both bikes today, only for about 15-20 minutes. And I'm gonna jump in the truck because we're trying to get back to Flagstaff real quick here. So here's what we noticed. Here's what we noticed with the bikes. The power band on the Husqvarna, I watched a ton of videos, listened to a lot of reviews before I bought this bike yesterday. And here's just my opinion. It's only my opinion. So you might experience something different. But the Husqvarna has a peak power band that it does hit. And the KTM seems to be a bit more smoothed out. Now, we've dialed the suspension on the KTM, so I kind of can feel the difference in suspension. So I'm not gonna comment on that. But what I will say is the power band difference between the two. If you're looking for a smooth, controllable power band, the KTM is the bike. I felt way more comfortable in terms of power band on that KTM. And I've had 300s, I've had XC 250s, I've had them, so I know the power band on that bike pretty well. But I really got a good comparison today on a very technical single track that we ride here in Arizona. Really rocky, and I got a really comparison. Then my son and I switched bikes. I rode his, he rode my Husqvarna, and got off the bike and kind of felt the same way. Felt like, you know, I don't have controllability for off-road if I were just, say, trying to leisurely ride and ride at a good clip, say A-level riding, the both of us. And so I would probably pick the KTM. It's just a ton smoother in terms of power. I will only comment on the suspension on this one comment. The linkage and non-linkage difference between the KTM and the Husqvarna. The Husqvarna seems to be have a, I wouldn't call it more rigid suspension. And again, I haven't dialed the suspension, but I can tell the difference in the swing arm movement. And that swing arm movement is pretty, you know, it does a lot more moving, I think, than the PDS or the non-linkage suspension on the KTM. Those are the two things that I noticed with the bike. And I'll get the Husqvarna dialed in. I might throw a flywheel weight on it just because I'm in my 50s. I don't plan on competing, and I just want a good smooth power to go out and have just my power band spread out. Or I might sell the bike and go to the XCW KTM 250 if I have to. But I think I can get this Husqvarna dialed in with a small flywheel weight, or maybe I'll mess around with it and so forth. But that's my opinion on terms of power band. I don't think there's a lot of differences in the rest of the bike. My son commented, this is Dustin, he commented and said that he felt that the Husqvarna turned a little quicker. You know, it didn't stay as straight in the rougher stuff, and it seemed to you know, maneuver a little easier. I think for extreme enduro or hard enduro and maybe motocross, that's a good thing. I don't know if there's a difference in rake on these two bikes, so I'm going to look that up to see if there's a rake difference. Maybe the front end's pitched a little more on the KTM. I'm not sure, but I do feel that the KTM stays straighter in the rougher stuff. I could open that throttle up, feel confident that one, the power band's not going to hit, pull the front end up when it shouldn't, and that the bike's going to stay pretty straight. I drug the rear brake a little bit more on the Husqvarna to keep it straight, and I found myself sort of dragging that a little bit more, and turning power out of the corners. Both bikes are explosive. They work very, very well, and I wouldn't have any issue there. But anyway, if you're wanting to know the power difference in those two bikes, there you have it. That's just my opinion, and just take it for what it's worth. Appreciate you watching. Take care, man.